Imagine walking into a fancy restaurant, dressed in old clothes, and everyone ignores you. What if that old man was a billionaire in disguise? Keep listening, you won't believe what happens next. The morning was bright but cold, the kind of cold that seeped through the windows of even the fanciest restaurants in New York City. The lunch rush had barely begun when an old man stepped through the glass doors of a high-end restaurant known for its polished marble floors, golden lights, and air of exclusivity. He wore a faded brown coat that looked far too old for the place. His shoes were scuffed, and his hat, slightly crumpled, shaded a face lined with years and wisdom. But to everyone watching, he was just another elderly man alone, perhaps a little out of place, and not worth paying attention to. No one knew that the man who had just entered was a billionaire. The entire room seemed to pause. The old man's eyes widened in surprise, and then for the first time that day they sparkled. His lips trembled before curving into a grateful smile. In a soft, emotional voice, he replied in Japanese, asking her name. Emily answered, bowing again slightly, continuing in her best Japanese, explaining that she had studied a bit in school and admired their culture deeply. At that moment, something unspoken passed between them, an understanding that transcended language or appearance. Emily took his order with care, making sure every detail was perfect. She poured his water herself, adjusted the napkin, and returned with a cup of green tea instead of coffee, whispering that she remembered Japanese guests preferred it. The old man clasped his hands together, bowing his head slightly before taking a sip. It was a simple act, but in that moment, he felt seen, respected, and valued not for his wealth, but for his humanity. As Emily served him, a quiet dignity filled the space around them. Other diners began to notice the gentle exchange, the kindness in her gestures, the warmth in his grateful nods. Whispers turned into silence as guilt washed over those who had judged him. Even the manager, realizing who the man might be after overhearing fragments of their conversation, stood frozen near the counter, unsure how to respond. When the meal ended, the old man asked for the check, but the manager rushed over, apologizing profusely and insisting the meal was on the house. The old man shook his head politely. No, he said softly, his English careful but clear. Respect cannot be free. He took out a small black card from his pocket, something only a few in the world possessed, and handed it to Emily along with a business card embossed in gold. She looked at it confused until she read the name. Her eyes widened. Kenji Takahiro Group, she whispered. The manager nearly dropped the tray he was holding. The billionaire smiled faintly. Kindness, he said slowly, is the most expensive thing in the world. But you gave it freely. Thank you. He stood, bowed deeply to Emily, and left the restaurant, his steps light, his heart full. The next morning when Emily came to work, everyone was buzzing with news. The restaurant had received a glowing feature in a national paper. A Japanese billionaire had visited anonymously, praising the kindness of a single waitress who made him feel at home. Along with the article came an envelope addressed to Emily. Inside was a handwritten note and a letter of sponsorship. Mr. Takahiro had offered to fund her college education and help with her family's expenses, saying it was his way of honoring the spirit of kindness that reminded him of someone he once loved. Tears filled Emily's eyes as she read the letter over and over. For her, it wasn't about the money. It was the reminder that being kind, even when no one's watching, could change someone's world in ways unimaginable. As the sun set outside the restaurant that evening, Emily stood by the window where Mr. Takahiro had sat, her reflection glowing in the golden light. Somewhere across the ocean, an old man smiled while sipping his tea, grateful that in a world that often rushes past, one waitress remembered that kindness still speaks every language, and that sometimes the simplest words, konnichiwa, o genki desu ka, can bridge hearts oceans apart. Because in the end, kindness is the truest form of wealth. What's the smallest act of kindness someone once did for you that you never forgot? Share it in the comments below.